Stankowski.
Here.
Calandra Zebro.
Here.
Kelly Zebro.
Here.
And Student Rep Addison June.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Item 3, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, approval of the agenda. I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as posted.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion by Kaiser, second,
I'll second.
and a second by Ms. Baumann. Any questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Item 5, approval of the minutes. Regular Board of Education meeting, September 19th, 2023. If there are no corrections, I would seek a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Donna. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second
I'll second.
by Calandra. Any questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. And then approval of the minutes from the annual meeting, September 26th at 7 p.m. Again, these are for review and acceptance only, but I would seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay, we have a motion by Peter and a second by Megan. Any questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Item 6, Student Board Report.
Good evening, everyone. Recently at Mosinee High School, the agriculture classes went on a field trip. Along with, FFA went to the World Dairy Expo. The students had a very fun time and learned a lot about agriculture and about dairy cattle and the newest technologies available in the dairy industry. In our English department, there has been an essay competition being held. Each student in the AP language classes and some of the English 11 classes have chosen to participate in the competition. They each wrote a 500 to 800 word essay on the greatest attributes of our democracy and had to read it aloud to a panel of judges. 5 out of the 12 students were chosen from the judges to advance into the competition, where they are now have to record their essay and send it to the final judges to see if they continue to advance into the state level. In the sports side of school, the Mosinee High School football team became Cheese Grater champs once again when they beat Medford 14-0 at Friday's game. The Mosinee volleyball team has been doing amazing, with Tristan Wicklund being named All-Conference Player of the Year and Coach Jacobs being named All-Conference Coach of the Year. Everyone on the team and in our school is so proud of the team, and we continue to support the girls at each game. Mosinee's One Act Club is putting on a performance of a small musical called Gossip, with the star of the show, Jillian Jacobson, and many others in the club acting and working as stage crew. It is destined to be a great show. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, special presentations. 7A, discussion HYA profile court.
Well, good evening, everyone. Before we give our report, I'm just going to give you a quick update on where we are with the search. So remember now, it closes on October 31st. So we have about a week left, and currently we have 14 completed applications, and there are 2 in the portal that we can see. You can't see them. They're not in the portal, they're in our side of the portal, I guess. So they're not submitted yet, so maybe they're waiting for a letter of reference or something before they hit submit, or at some time at the very end, they'll decide, nope, they're not going to apply, so they don't even hit submit. But right now, you have 14. Our goal was between 15 and 20, so hopefully we're gonna get 18 to 20 before it closes. I can tell you, you're gonna have a very good slate. You're gonna have a good, solid 6 for the slate, is what that was our goal as well. The 2 things we do have to do is we still need dates for the day in the district. Remember, once you get to the 3 finalists, they each get a full day in the district. Very little board involvement with that, but the principals will be leading the tours of their elementary, middle school, high school. They'll meet with a group of students as well, and so we're going to want to start coordinating those 3 days. They do not need to be consecutive days, but the week of November 27th, the one thing the board needs to do is pick a day for the final interview. That is the week of December 4th. So we'll need one night, count on 3, hopefully we'll have 3 finalists. So it would be 3 interviews all on the same evening. The biggest board decision you're gonna have to make is, do you wanna do that in open session or closed session? The first round is closed session because those names are confidential at that time. Once you name your finalist, the names are released to the public or put on your website. However, in Wisconsin, you still have the right to interview your finalist in closed session. Some states you must do it in open session, and Wisconsin the districts are 50-50. Some will do it all in closed session, but some will conduct the interviews, the final 3 interviews, in open session. The public does not participate, but they are able to witness and watch the interview process. So that's a decision the board is going to have to make. So, any questions at all before we get into our report? All right, you're in great shape and we're on schedule.
All right.
So you should have a copy of the report. So I just want to go through a couple things here. So first of all, so everyone knows what exactly took place. We did interview all 9 board members individually. We had 10 focus groups, including a group of students. We had 63 participants. The number's a little bit low, but to be completely honest, I think you could have had 300 and we'd have the same results, because the themes developed immediately. From the first couple of groups, we started getting the same theme, so I don't think numbers really matter in this case. The questions that were asked were, what are the strengths of the Mosinee School District? What are the challenges facing the Mosinee School District? And what characteristics would you like to see in your next superintendent? The focus groups were the middle school administrative team, the middle school staff, the high school administrative team, the high school students, high school staff, parents and community, district office staff, elementary school administration, elementary staff, and then we had one Zoom where we invited parents and community to participate in a Zoom meeting. All the other ones were face-to-face. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he's going to talk about the strengths and the challenges.
Okay, thanks. I think one thing to add to Mike, the number of applicants, I think you'll see when we put that leadership profile report out on your website. I think some people will wait to see that and then decide if they're going to apply or not. So I think that generally this last week after that's released, people will submit their applications, I think. So I'm optimistic that we'll get to that goal number. But as far as the strengths go, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. You have it in front of you. We'll answer any questions you have. The 5 general areas of strengths that we heard, location and size of the district and community. People like that it's between 2 bigger school districts, Point and Everest Wausau. They like the location of it, the water nearby, the university close by, things like that. So they like this little bit of a small town feel yet for that. The second strength, dedicated quality staff and students are valued. We heard that over and over in our focus groups. I did the Zoom with the parents, and I thought that came out pretty clearly from the parents that they appreciated the staff and how they cared about the students. And I think you'll hear some of the same things when we get to the student section of the report as well. Third, academic achievement and class offerings. The youth apprenticeship stuff, the work, school to work partnerships and things like that were appreciated. The ACT Champs was brought up a few times for the conference. The number of college offerings or dual credit offerings that you have were very clearly stated to us in the focus group, so those were all appreciated. Opportunities for students, both in athletics and co-curriculars. This again, you'll hear from the students pretty much the same thing. Appreciation for all of what is, the students want to be involved, they can be involved, basically, is what we heard. And I think that's great for your school district. And then the 5th one was the ability for the school board to do the right thing in the face of adversity. There was a couple specifics mentioned there, but there was some appreciation for the work that you folks have done over the last couple of years too. So, so after we talk about the strengths, we get into the challenges a little bit. The first one, communication, transparency, and school culture. I think the biggest thing you'll see there is that people want to know when decisions are made, why were they made? A little more detail on what's going on. The school culture, we didn't hear that as much from the high school students, I don't think, but I think that was a little bit in the elementary more so, if I remember correctly, Mike. But another area of just more open communication from the district in that aspect. Another challenge, administrative turnover. And from what I heard, I think they tie that in when they think there's a pattern of when your superintendent leaves, other administrators seem to follow out, and they'd like to see more consistency and somebody that's going to make Mosinee their home. You'll see that in the profile of your superintendent, and keep the administrative team together as best you can. And also with staff, staff retention, as everybody knows right now, is of high interest to all school districts. But what things can we do to make sure our staff want to stay here in Mosinee? Which, when you turn the page, pay and benefits to employees. And you know, it's not easy to retain staff when you've got bigger districts that are capable of paying a little more money than what you are. What are the little things you can do if there's not pay and benefits that can keep people wanting to work here in Mosinee? Referendums are tough to pass in facilities. There seems to be some thoughts there about there's going to be a need for some facilities upgrades, and there's concern with whether if the district will be able to pass. It seems it takes a few times to get a referendum to go, and so that was a challenge.
So, Scott, I'm
Yep.
sorry to interrupt here.
No, that's
So
all right.
that came up a number of times that came up, and so we did some fact checking. It's very easy to go on the DPI website and look at your referendum history, so we did that. And I went back to 2000. You had 16 referendums and 2 passed since 2000, so just so you're aware of that fact. And the students brought up some of the stuff too with the facilities, but you'll get
Yeah.
that.
And then finally, next challenge is board governance and trust of the board. Well, there was some appreciation for some of the things the board did, but there also is some concern in getting to a board governance model and building up that trust between the staff and the board and the community again. Mike's going to get into a little bit of the desired characteristics of the superintendent, and then I will finish up, I think, with the student section.
So this next section, basically what we have is what you're looking for is a visionary, inspirational leader who will. And then you'll see there's a number of bullet points there. So that's the thing you want to look at for the visionary. The exceptional communicator. Communication was the big thing. And the communication was in all different levels. So it was from like district office to administration. It was from administration to staff. It was from staff to parents. So, I mean, all levels. And the one thing we'll recommend is just over-communicate. And then you're safe. So if you over-communicate, you're safe. But that came up a number of times. So they want a people person, someone that's out and visible and gets out and that builds that culture, talks to students, knows staff by name, just that visibility. So communication was a big piece. Consensus builder, someone who's going to have that confidence and empathy as well. Again, part of the community was a big thing that came out. They want the person, being active, not just going to things, but being present. Don't just show up because you have to show up, but really be engaged once you're there and talk to people. So they want that face of the district. An experienced educator, they talked a lot about just the ability to understand school law, federal programs, the experience is a big thing. And then the successful candidate will, and again, a number of bullet points, but just have that K-12 educational experience, a track record for leadership, a team player, and then that awareness of the school policy and law. And then on page 8, you'll see there's about 75 characteristics. It's in the chart. And so those were basically taken word for word from what we heard from the people that we did interview. And then on page 9, if they didn't give us one word, some people did give us a phrase or a sentence, so we try to capture that phrase or that sentence on page 9 as well. And then, like we told you in our presentation, we don't identify any of the groups except the student group, because it's really important for everyone in this room to know, what do the students think of the Mosinee School District?
And so then I'll talk about the strengths again from the student perspective. First, welcoming, and these are high school students, welcoming, safe school and positive culture. They truly believe, I believe that they really like coming to school here. They talked about some of the teachers, I think the science department in particular, that were real welcoming folks to them. The counselors were appreciative of the students' needs. Those were two specifics that were mentioned to us. I asked them, I said, if I wanted to bring my child to Mosinee, what would you tell me? Why should I bring them here? And the answer basically was great place to live and go to school. So the students really like the community. They like the school, and they like the staff in the building. Strong clubs, activities, and musicals. Kids liked all the opportunities that are out there for them. They like the one act I heard was mentioned in FFA and some of the things in your student report. They like those other things. You'll see a challenge that comes along with this later on, but they appreciate all the opportunities that are afforded to your students in the high school. Strong academics, again, was mentioned by the students. Again, the dual credits, they like the opportunities they can get there, and some of the other things you got going on there. They did bring up the ACT champion there too, so they are proud of that as well. The support, great staff, and the school lunch was also mentioned. They really like the school lunch.
We don't hear that too often. The second time when we researched, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. So
yeah.
tell your food service director, congratulations.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, again, this is where the science teachers were mentioned, the counselors, other things. They like how the school's laid out with all your academic areas are in one hallway and things of that nature. So they really like the layout and the atmosphere in the high school right now. So, but then that comes with challenges. The perception was that there's politics that are involved with athletics and who gets on what team and those kind of things. And I would say if that's the case, Mosinee's not alone in that area. I think that's a perception that goes a lot in districts, but that was coming from the students. This one, we didn't have any freshmen in our group, but the second one on your list, there used to be, I guess, a ninth grade or a freshman orientation in the high school.
They were really upset.
They felt bad for the freshman class that they didn't have the opportunity to go through that orientation. They felt that was a pretty big part of getting into the high school. I think it was across, we didn't have any freshmen, but they all felt bad for the freshmen that they didn't get that opportunity. More support for clubs and activities. They like all the opportunities that are provided, but they would also like to see a little more support. They mentioned the difference between some of the more high-profile athletics, and then you got the activities and the one acts and things like that maybe aren't publicized as much, and they'd like to see the school do a little more support on that end of things. Prioritizing financial decisions and understand what needs to be done and why. I think this is kind of, they want to know why decisions are made. Why does money get spent here and here? The one thing that was continually brought up by the kids was the condition of your locker rooms. They would like to see a priority put there, more so than anything. I think that was the one negative.
They also said they don't care if they're told no for something, but they want to know why. Why is it a no?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's not just a money thing. It's for maybe for anything that's going on within the district. It's this why. Help us understand why the answer is no.
And then the final challenge the students felt was try to get a better connection between the classes and communication within the building with the students and the upperclassmen to the lowerclassmen. I think these students really had, again, I come back to the freshman orientation. They really felt like somebody needed to reach out and help those freshmen, and they wished that there was a little bit more of an opportunity to do that. Characteristic they listed is in the chart after the challenges, and that is pretty much where we're at. Anybody have any questions?
All right.
So you mentioned about picking dates. How soon do you need those dates? In the end of November
I
or
think we
December?
can work with Amy and just
Okay.
kind of, you guys can
Great.
do your poll and we'll make whatever work, we'll make it work.
Okay.
We're back on November 7th to present the slate, so
Yeah, so maybe at that
if
night.
we know
And
the
they
finalized,
pick
so
the
when,
dates.
yeah,
Yeah.
Perfect. Great, thank you.
All right.
thanks.
I do have a
Have
question.
Hey, Joy, you.
You got a question?
Oh, sure.
Jess has a question. Go
Yep,
ahead.
Go ahead.
So my question was in regards to selecting these groups that you had asked the questions to, were these just selected by whomever, in terms of, as an example, staff, whoever just showed up to each of the meetings to give their feedback, and the students as well, and the community for that member? Or
So,
was there some sort of selection process?
no, great question. So we don't know how the students were selected. That was the high school, whether it was the counselors or the principals or someone from the high school picked the high school students. But every staff member was invited to participate, and they were emailed when the focus group was going to be held, and they were also, I believe, told that if they couldn't make the elementary one, they could go to another one because of the same questions. But we also then, after each of the focus groups, we did email the principal, and the principal did send out the questions to all staff at all 3 levels. So if they did make the focus group, they did get an email as well asking for feedback, and we did get some emails that came in that we added to the list here. So as far as the community and parents, I know it was social media, website. I think something was sent home to the parents as well through an email.
It was on Facebook.
Facebook. So.
Okay, so as an example, when it says high school staff, there were 5 participants, but if you had, let's say, 3 in person and 2 others responded via email, does that constitute the 5, or does that 5 mean that's who came in person and participated? I'm just curious.
I think the number on the chart is the actual people that were there in person. I would say, what do you think, we had 15 follow-up
Probably
emails
15
total?
emails.
And
Yeah.
it's not always identified what level they taught at, so those are just separate from the numbers in the chart.
Okay,
We
thank you
should
for
pro-
clarifying.
Yeah, we should probably add a section for the emails, but we don't know what grade level or what level they were, elementary, middle school, or high school.
Thank you.
Yep,
You bet.
good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
guys.
Yeah,
Now.
very good.
She made it home just in time, otherwise.
All right, item 7B, discussion on the food service. Do we have any, are we,
We're gonna table that.
we're gonna table that to November?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Item 7C, discussion middle school staff presentation.
This has been like hovering over me, I gotta move it. That was his backside for the last 5 minutes. Thanks. Alrighty, so, when we looked at spotlighting some of the awesome things in the middle school, we really rolled out to the community, all the new facilities that we had when we opened up in August, and when we had our open house. And just a huge thank to the district, to all of the subcontractors and all the people that worked in regards to making this happen, because it really has changed the flow of kids in our building. It's changed the way that we have meetings, the way that we move kids, everything that we've done and that has happened here with the building project at the middle school has really improved the education of kids. And one of the pieces that I wanted to spotlight today was what used to be Mr. Leeds and Mrs. Merchant's room was now the math classrooms from the grade 8, and we were able to take them out of the tower. That's what we call it over there. We take them out of the 3rd floor, and now we have all of our teaching staff in grade 8 in one area. As a result of that, our cafeteria, like you guys know, has now transitioned to the new area with where Mrs. Merchant and Mr. Leitz were. It's Mrs. Schultz now and Mr. Leitz because Mrs. Merchant retired. And I brought in Mr. Leitz here, and he's going to talk a little bit about how they use that and how it's really improved. It's really improved the education for those kids. So this is just one of the spotlights of the new building project. If you guys do want to stop in and kind of see it in motion, feel free to give me a buzz, and you can kind of see how the flow of the kids works. I've seen Megan today in the lunchroom with us, so she got to experience indoor recess and how that area has improved just keeping the kid noise away from the classrooms that are still having class. So, Mr. Leitz, come on up.
Hi everyone. I am one of the middle school intellectual disability teachers. I'm a Mosinee graduate. It's my 11th year in the district, and 10 of them have been right at the middle school. So in the beginning of 2022, 2023, Mr. Munoz came up to me and Mr. Kaiser and said, would you like to design a new classroom? Which is pretty freaky. So we've never designed anything. My co-teacher had been teaching for about 30 years. And I had a sister go through the same classroom that I was through. So we had some great ideas, but we didn't really know what the space was going to look like. We didn't know what to do, so we designed what you guys see up there on the table. We just kind of did a drawing and asked Mr. Kaiser to work his magic. So the big things we have right now is we have 2 teachers. We have an abnormally high population, about 14 students. When you think of special ed, you might not know what all the categories are, but you have emotional behavioral disabilities, you got learning disabilities, and you have intellectual disabilities, which is what I teach. So intellectual disabilities could be someone who has severe physical limitations, or it could be someone that if you saw them, you'd never know they have any limitations. You could have someone who's nonverbal, or you could have someone that spends their whole day in the general ed and just comes to me for math or reading. So now you need a classroom or 2 classrooms or 3 classrooms to try to meet the needs of all these students. What we had 3 classrooms. We had one for me, one for my co-teacher, and a middle room, kind of a sensory room. So we asked Mr. Kaiser if we could have 4 rooms and what could happen. So he kind of got back with the next picture. Well, I guess I can do a slide, or you can do a slide.
Yep, you're good.
So it's hard to see on there, but it was an open concept. We had kind of a sensory room in the middle. We had a big bathroom. We had 2 classrooms, but there weren't really dividers. And we said, hey, can we work at this a little bit? And him and Mr. Jamrose are amazing. They said, yeah, let's keep looking at it. And eventually we met 3 or 4 times, and we came up with the next design that you can see.
Get down.
And this is what we have now. So you walk down kind of a long hallway, and when you walk into my room, I have an amazing, amazing room. So I have a state-of-the-art kitchen, huge range. If we want to do any cooking, any life skills, things like that, you can. A brand new smart board. I have a lot of seating. And then we have a middle room to my right. In the middle room, I have a place where I can take kids if they want to take a test and be separate from me. It has a bathroom that, I mean, you could park a truck in. It's ginormous. We have a TV. We have a sensory sand table that they can deregulate. And then my co-teacher on the other side, who teaches a little bit higher functioning students, can have a nice quiet space to work as well. So we got the plans drawn up, and then we met with EBI, which is an outfit for furniture, and they said, well, what do you all want to order? And thanks to you guys and everyone else that gave us money, we were like, I had no idea. It took us, I bet you, weeks to figure out everything we wanted. And Becky Harrod and then my assistant Mary Dahl, we all put our heads together and figured out what we wanted to order. And then this is what it kind of looks like. So this is my room. And if you look there, we kind of have a U-shaped table, brand new smart board. We also have doors right out to the playground right to your left. The best part about those doors is they're really, really sticky and hard to open. So if I do have students who want to elope or run, it's hard to get through. Yet whenever I want to get out, we kind of know the trick to open them up. This is our kitchen. If you kind of look over here, this is our huge range. We have at-height cabinets that the students can reach up and get into. We do quite a bit of laundry. We wash windows in the school. We have some students with bathroom needs. We have to wash their clothing. We also use it for job skills. So we have a nice washer dryer. This is what we call our middle room. This student right there is using our sand table. He earned a break, so he's hanging out the sand table. We have multiple job skills and puzzles and things like that you can do there. And then we have a Wii up here too that they can earn and play on Fridays. And then this is a huge bathroom. It is absolutely amazing. I can get a wheelchair in there. I can turn them around. I can get a lift in there. We have a shower that there's no step. You walk right on in. They can flood the place. It's got an in-floor drain that'll drain it all back out. It's really, really, really nice. And then this is my co-teacher's room, Miss Schultz. She's got a nice area for a reading corner. We have very nice desks. And then she's got a place that she can teach as well. So if you go to the very last slide, I really, really want to thank all of you guys. One, for taking an interest in what my program is. Not a lot of people know who I am, even the students. I'll go sub somewhere and they'll be like, who's that guy? And I've been there for a long time. And that's because what we do with our students is we try to give them the most help we can, but we also want them to be as part of the school as anybody else. And that means not having them stand out. If you look at that table right there, there's two students in the corner doing like a study hall, and while I'm teaching a lesson over there. These rooms don't just house me or my co-teacher, we have 4 assistants that are with them too. And then we have multiple, this is our district physical therapy assistant there, who's observing a student who's got some physical needs as well. Our rooms are never cold, so there's always a student in at least one of them. And because we have such an amazing facility, we took what we had, which was okay, and made it amazing. So I've taken up more time than I probably should have, but I want to thank Outdoor Instruction, Mr. Kaiser, Mr. Jamrose, Mr. Ruby, and you guys for having me out here. I really, really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me or my program or what my situation looks like?
All I can say is I wish we had that 15 years ago.
Ms. Kaiser got this up with me a couple times and seen my kids. And,
You mentioned 14 in your room right now. Is there a maximum capacity of that room right now?
You know what? Believe it or not, there are 2 students that probably could be in my program that I would maybe benefit from me, and because I don't have the capacity to take them, other special ed teachers are servicing them. We are kind of at capacity right now. One thing that these rooms don't have, which we probably maybe need in the future, is something called deregulation room. I had it in my old one. We took wrestling mats and put it on the wall, and it just went for a place for a kid that wants to scream or punch a wall or do something to get his frustration out, throw a weighted ball. We don't have that now. I didn't want to complain about a brand new room, I'm not. So, but it might be something we wanted to look at in the future. But when you mention that too, that does sometimes call for a need for adult support too. Just in my program alone, I have 2 students who they're basically called one-on-one. One is a severe seizure disorder that could drop at any time and we would need someone with them. Another one has severe behaviors. They're not for a full time. So that takes up my 2 assistants. So then we do a lot of grouping for other ones to figure out where they're at. And that's kind of a subject too. I'm always welcoming to have people come in and watch us teach. I need to know ahead of time. That way I can set the students up. But come check out what we're doing. We have gen ed teachers come in our room all the time just to get a smile, you know, and it's a good time. They will brighten your day. We have tough days, but for the most part we have good ones. Any other questions?
Now, with your students, they are in and out, correct? Or some
Well,
of them
some
are
are.
all day?
Yeah, most of them. There's only one that doesn't leave my room right now.
Okay.
Other than that, they all go to at
They
least
all
a
get to
science,
go
social
to-
studies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So, cool.
Mhm.
All right, thank you guys very much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will say that one of the things that I experienced with just not only the shuffle and the buffle of all the things that happened with the building contract was is how well Ellis Construction, those guys and all the subcontractors, the local contractors worked with the school. I mean, there were often times where we're trying to have meetings and they're hammer drilling a wall down or something like that. And all we had to do was go, hey guys, could you maybe postpone this for 20 minutes so we can get our meeting done? And they were so good at saying, yeah, absolutely, we'll find something else to do. So a shout out to them because they absolutely know how to work within a building of kids.
Great. Thanks. Item 7D, discussion special education comparables.
Good evening. I have numbers for you, and numbers will tell a little bit of the story, but not the whole story. And so you can see, even comparing from this year's numbers to last year's numbers, we have 2 less students identified, but that certainly doesn't say anything about the needs that we have, because our needs are greater than ever. Just so you know how to read this, we go down on the left-hand side, that is the total numbers per grade level, and then as you move across, you can see the primary disability area that students qualify for. First one being autism, then emotional behavior disability, hearing is H, ID is what Jim referred to as intellectual disabilities, specific learning disabilities, and then you have other health impairments with OHI, significantly developmentally delayed, it's alphabet soup here, and then followed by speech and language and traumatic brain injury. You'll notice that significantly developmentally delayed stops at 4th grade because there's a cap on that by age. You cannot be significantly developmentally delayed and be greater than 10 years old. And so a lot of times an SDD student will become a student with a specific learning disability or OHI or some other disability, or they will age out and they will be to be found with a student without a disability at that point. So the numbers just paint a little bit of the picture. We definitely have needs. I've been working real hard on those needs and on meeting the needs of our students. But what I wanted this to be is an intro to a conversation that we can continue to have. Anything that you want from me, any information you want from me for future board meetings, I am more than happy to be here. I'm keeping a journal of all of my activities, and sometimes it's one of those things that you do late at night to try to recall everything that I did that day, but I'm trying to keep up with that so that the board understands exactly what I do day in and day out. So if there's any other information that you would require of me, I am more than happy to provide that at future board meetings. So like I say, this is a conversation starter. I will be around for a little while, and I'm hoping to make as much of a difference as I can. I can tell you that the staffs that I've worked with have been extremely supportive. This is a great place to be. Nobody surveyed me for the superintendent poll, but this is a great place to be, and everything that they said about the strengths certainly ring true with my experience here.
So, how are you doing with staff? Are you staffed to meet all the needs?
No, we are still juggling things. In fact, I tried a little strategy just recently that fell very flat. I need to go back to my roots, and I completely forgot about communication and collaboration. And so we're going to work on that, in fact, first thing in the morning, and we're talking about paraprofessional support. We're trying to operate from within to be fiscally responsible, but I'm not saying that we may not have to post positions in the future.
And some paraprofessional training also?
Yes, because they are our forgotten
Yes.
population
Yes,
in
they are.
districts. Usually it's put your person sweater there and here's the student that you're going to be working with. So
Right, okay,
yes, thank you. And I can bring that, more specifics on that later.
okay.
And Jen, is there ever like a point where maybe in the search of paras, if we're looking for more paras versus hiring another teacher?
Right, and I have not gotten to that point yet, but we can hire a teacher for what we can hire 2 paras for.
Right.
When it comes down to benefits, and so that is certainly a consideration, absolutely. Then you've got somebody who comes with certification, comes with training, and we're still going to invest in their training, their future training, like we are paraprofessionals. But that's an excellent point, and fiscally responsible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, public forum. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues included on the school board meeting agenda. General operating rules of the public forum will be determined by the board president once the number of people wishing to participate is identified. And I believe that we had nobody sign up.
No,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right, so we'll be moving on to item 9, discussion and possible decision on the final budget, levy, and tax rate for the 23-24 school year.
Good evening. In September, the proposed budget for the 23-24 year came before the qualified electors of the district. Since that time, there have been a couple of changes, final factors that we knew would come into play. Those are resulting in some changes to the budget. Can you pull up that presentation, Christy? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, all right. So what you have in your board packet is the budget for adoption with the final numbers, and this is just giving some additional detail or explanation on those. So the budget factors that were updated in October 2023, the finalized student count, resident student count of 1938, FTE of 1896. So that's taking those students and multiplying them by their weight, residents. October 1st values, overall property values increased by 13%. Certified state aid came in, that's a October 15th certification, 14,612,638. And then our revenue limit, these factors all play into the revenue limit, 22,766,24, resulting in tax levy, Fund 10 of 6.9 million, Fund 38, 1.2 million, Fund 39, that's our debt service referendum approved, 718,000, and Fund 80, 650,000. That was a slight increase to cover some of the things that we've been talking about in the ad hoc safety committee on things that we can do for the community to benefit safety. We had the September enrollment by grade. This is our FTE dropped, our student count dropped. So I was looking at what did last year look like that this wasn't anticipated, because I did not anticipate a drop so significant. So these are actual students in seats enrollment. It's not open enrollment, it's not RBA. So if you look at the difference, let me see, I have that count here, the total. Last year, our enrollment was 1939, and this year 1913, down 26 students. And then when you weight them, you know, our weight, the students is down even more. We're going to be looking future-wise, we're going to be graduating 12th grade class of 165 students. And if our 4K, if we still next year bring in a small 4K, we're going to be down too. But so these numbers play into our membership here, which is what our aid and our revenue limit are based off of. Now this chart here, there was a question on it at our annual meeting. And what this includes, and I've updated the 23-24 and then the projection for 24-25. So this includes, these numbers include our summer school FTE. 40% of it goes towards what we use in our revenue limit, so that's included here. So 23-24, we're looking at an annual membership number of 1913, and then the 3-year average of 1949, which is down from last year's 3-year average of 1964. So what that means is on our revenue limit, it didn't really decrease it this year because we're receiving a declining enrollment exemption. So that's a one-time exemption this year. Next year will be another different one-time exemption, but those don't add to the base. Just a quick review. The revenue limit limits the maximum revenue from the general tax levy for Fund 38 and general. General tax levy, Fund 38 levy, and general aid. We talked about the per member increase that was in the state biennium budget, which kept us from being really bad off. So that was $325 per member per year for the 23-25 budget, and then an increase in the low revenue ceiling to $11,000 per student or per member. That was an additional $277 per member. And then one thing too, open enrollment and voucher school payments. The district will levy in this budget, and this is part of the revenue limit, $233,687 for private school vouchers. We levy it, and then the state takes it out of our aid. So that's how those are being funded. On the following slides, if something changed in one of these funds, then I put what was proposed and taken to the annual meeting. Next to it, I put the budget for adoption. So this is the general fund. Total levy, and I apologize, I already have a mistake. The budget, the total levy, this would be the total for all fund levy. At the annual meeting, we were looking at $9,169,433, and this budget has $9,521,648. The difference is due to the additional levy in Fund 80 for community service, and then the change in the revenue limit made this change. The mill rate was proposed at $6.46 with a 13% increase in property values. The levy mill rate will be $5.91 per $1,000 assessed value on properties. The beginning general fund balance, we're almost done with our audit, so there's some more changes, but right now what we're looking at, and I don't think there'll be changes after this, but since September, $8,156,991 in this budget. Fund 10 revenues, with the change in aid and tax levy due to the revenue limit and then grants, there's a slight decrease in this budget than what was proposed. So we're looking at $26,206,109. Fund 10 expenses, down slightly. This is mainly due to the open enrollment in and open enrollment out. So the expenses, we had fewer students out, and then the way they were between special education and regular education decreased the expense that we had anticipated. Transfer to Fund 46, $472,000, and that's going to wrap up that, cover all those expenses for the remainder of the project, building project. We're looking at a planned deficit of $159,526. And then, excuse me, ending general fund balance of $7.9 million. Special projects funds, Fund 21 and Fund 27, there's no changes since the annual meeting on that. The fund balance, beginning fund balance, this is all Fund 21 because we're not allowed to have a fund balance in Fund 27. It's debt service fund, no changes there either. Capital projects fund, this is the same as what came to the annual meeting. Ending fund balance of $243. Food service fund 50, no changes here either. We're anticipating roughly $10,000 revenue this year, according to the proposal that we received. Community service fund, beginning fund balance of $421,159, revenues with interest, fees from the community for things that they pay for, and then the tax levy, looking at $660,000, expenditures of $650,000. As those things that may be brought before the board are approved, that would make some changes there. We do have funds available to pay for the new additional school resource officers and the expenses that come with that. This is the tax levy in the budget for adoption, broken out by fund, Fund 10, 38, 39, and 80. And then this is a history of the total amount levy and the levy rate from 2018-19 up through the current year. As you see, our levy amount has been decreasing. This year it's slightly higher than last year, but our levy rate has been dropping every year. This is the taxation by districts and then their property values. So in the first column is the taxation district. The next equalized value in 2022. 2022 percentage of value of the district's whole value, property value. Then equalized value for 2023, and then the 2023 percentage. And then the levy amount for that municipality. So, you know, just looking at the third and fifth columns, you can see how maybe some municipalities' value has, as a percentage of the district, has went up and some has went down as the others increased. And the levy rate will be the same for all of those, the 591. And then this is just a summary of what we just discussed and what's on your handout. And I will take any questions or comments, if you have any.
Okay, being new to this, my question is, the tax levy rate, is that determined by the money we have in the district? How is the levy rate determined, really?
The total amount that we levy?
Right.
The total amount we levy based on the revenue limit. So our membership for the last 3 years, we look at that. We look at the base of what we levied last year. Get the base, see our student counts, you know, as a percentage of FTE. And then we're looking at any increases that the state allowed. So let me pull back there. So under I had it somewhere. Oh, it's on our main page. It's on the main presentation.
Page 5,
Oh, page.
revenue limit, are you talking like $325 per year?
Thank you, yeah,
Yep.
thank you, Peter. Okay, so $325 per year, so we had our base from last year. We are allowed, you know, we look at what was last year, get our base amount per member, and then we're allowed to add the $325 per member, and then get up to the 11,000 because we were under that, so we were allowed to add another $277 per member. So then we get that amount. We add in our energy efficiency. We are allowed to increase our revenue limit for that. So we added that in. And then the declining enrollment exemption adds in as well. And then those pieces for the voucher schools are added. Then our state aid subtracts from that.
Okay.
And that is what our revenue limit is left for Fund 10 and Fund 38.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Michelle, the only question I have, or comment,
Okay.
townships and villages in the city of Mosinee, do we ever share so they can explain to taxpayers how that's gonna affect their taxes? Once we come up with the final and approved?
I am going to put something out to
Okay.
them, but one of the things though is, like, these are going to be the levy amounts that we're going to, Amy sends these off to each clerk. This is the amount they're going to levy, but then they're going to take away, you know, there might be some credits, school levy tax credits that each municipality has to apply to their taxpayers.
Okay.
I don't know the value of those. So that would reduce it as well, but we can definitely, I was thinking, you know, sending this information out so they could see too how much their property values grew, you know, in comparison, so they may be taking a bit more of the levy on than they had in previous years if they have a bigger percentage of the district now.
That's a really good point. This month, just today, I'm finishing up with the link, the connect that we have with our community. So I worked with Michelle to put some of this information in that link, and we'll continue throughout this school year to educate, to inform our citizens just on how this is one piece of their property tax bill, and it's important to unwrap that for folks. So we will work hard to put that in plain speak and to have opportunities for student or for, you know, community members, perhaps even with an interim superintendent, coffee, whatever, and I can invite Michelle and get out there and really connect with our community and explain this, because it's really important that the school district takes a lead on that communication piece. Really good point. Thanks for bringing that up.
Any other questions?
I would like to just comment as well, if I could, please.
Sure.
So to just add on to that conversation, I couldn't agree more that it's very important to inform the community as best as we can, but also to ensure that we're breaking it down so that they understand.
Yes, plain speak.
Exactly, in plain speak, how to best interpret this. The one thing that is becoming clear, and this certainly is not a district only issue, this is a statewide and probably a nationwide issue. But even in last month's Wisconsin School News magazine, it talked about the declining enrollment and how the Midwest was hit particularly hard. In Wisconsin is a 1.3% decline in student population. So of course we saw, as Michelle described, that we have a declining population within our enrollment. However, I think that it is incumbent upon us to at least go out and solicit to the families and those that are still in the district and those that have left, and to find out why. What can we do better to help attract, retain, and recruit, if you will, to help with the student population, because this is a big piece of this financial discussion. So we want to try to move the needle the other way versus have that declining enrollment. But we can certainly do better than that, and I'll make that request in future agenda items toward the end of the meeting. But just something that I wanted to put on everyone's radar, that we need to start thinking about surveying, having listening sessions, or even, as Mr. Way was talking about with the link, maybe we even have a created mailbox as to where parents can give feedback for
Like
things
that
such
idea.
as that, to say, this is why I have left, or these are my questions about enrollment, but what can we do better to help attract, retain our student population? Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, otherwise I would seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget.
Okay, we have a motion by Peters, or a second?
I'll second
And a second by Kelly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Thank you, Michelle. Item 10, consent agenda. At this time, I would seek a motion to approve if nothing is being pulled out. You are pulling an item out?
Finance is gonna pull out from our, number 6A. Discussion and possible recommendation, the approval of the middle school playground equipment purchases.
6A. You were pulling out for discussion for the full board? Okay. Are there any others? Okay, if not, I would seek a motion to approve the rest.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Megan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Then we'll move on to, then from the finance, 6A, which is discussion and possible recommendation of the approval middle school playground equipment purchases.
So we're talking about this one, yep, there we
Yep.
go. So the finance committee kind of came to the agreement that, although we'd like to see something, $88,000 is a lot, and we just didn't feel comfortable moving forward without a discussion, and maybe some input if Brad wanted to pipe in. about the number and then just get a feel from the whole board about it.
Okay. Brad?
Sure, yeah. When we met with, Steve, help me out with your guy's name.
Jeff.
Who was it?
Jeff.
When we met with him, Jeff, I was a little shocked at how much a swing costs. Because I thought, yeah, just put a swing up, like, but, you know, when you get down to what it is nowadays, the cost of just a block of swings is way above what I thought it would be. And that is what it is, right? I mean, we know that materials go up and costs go up, but when Steve and I looked at what would be a modern, up-to-date, what kids want, based on conversations that we had with kids, the two things there that kind of like the jungle gym type setup and then the swings are really what kids talk about when they talk about like the equipment that they want to play on the playground. The biggest one is the swings. I mean, that was a big one. We eliminated, I think we had 4 swings on that old playground,
Yep.
and the kids liked them. They did. And that would be, if we're gonna do an à la carte piece to it, like maybe that's something we could look at instead of this whole thing. We looked at putting this in a location where then you can tie in the existing wood chips to the new wood chip areas, because you gotta have a base for the equipment, and then also provide a space for where our Gaga ball pits are, still allowing the guys to move snow on the playground, okay? If you do ever come out to our playground, many kids use the green space for football, kickball. In the spring, it's wiffle ball. We got kids over on the blacktop area shooting hoops. We got Gaga ball pits. But we do have a portion of our kids that do like to use the equipment. And we did talk about taking some of the pieces off just because they're unsafe. We have some, you know, Donna can attest to this, how many kids come in because they fell off the spinner. And now, you know, because we're spinning, and then we lose grip, and then something happens. So this was just kind of the, okay, this is what we, it was convenient because I think over in River Park, the same group was putting in something very similar over there. Kids were talking about it like, oh man, that's wicked cool. And we thought, well, let's put something in front of you guys. Again, this is a la carte, I believe, right, Steve? We can pick and choose from.
I can, yeah. We package just the way it was because of labor and things of that nature, but it's a packaged product which you see in front of you. Only that's not included in this bid would be the excavation, which I did separately with another contractor. So there's some things that for the district would have an expense to, but I mean, the majority of everything is on this proposal that you see in front of you. And this is also through the Wisconsin Sourcewell contract purchasing. So this is already pre-bid state contract product. So it's basically government pricing and things of that nature.
So one thing that the kids have told us is they want their swings. That's a big one.
Okay, so Brad, what we're looking at is the whole package there, not just the roll of swings. We're looking at the like jungle gyms, the little thing in the middle.
The 88,000
Just
is
the
the whole
two
thing.
though, like the 2 pictures on the top are just different
Right,
views,
yes,
yeah.
that's what I mean, just so it's not just that swing. And then Steve, as reading and so it'd be 88 plus some change, then plus to put it in and excavate.
No, that excavation is on me.
Okay.
I have to strip off what's there to get to 12 inches down, whatever depth they want it to be at.
Okay.
But in their bid is included the installation of everything and all the bark, that certified bark. So I mean, I can tell you the bark in that product right now is $5,300 in bark. I mean, that's what it costs for the bark that you have to have that has to be certified. You just can't dump chips in
Right.
there anymore. So, I mean,
Okay,
it's-
so you're looking at roughly 90 some.
I would say probably in the neighborhood.
Okay.
What's
I
the,
did not get an estimating cost, but last time the contractor that I had,
The
local
old
did it for me,
lady,
kind of for a
90.
song and dance, so I.
what's the warranty on that and looking at
I like it.
for Wisconsin as well? I mean, is this, are these in other school districts?
Sure.
As far as longevity and
Oh, yeah, so
replacement?
we had them do the last installation at the elementary school, when we did the special needs situation with the rubber base.
Yeah.
It was their product. No, we had like, I can tell you, we had an issue with a spring on there, I called them up and I mean, they came and took care of it, which is nice. They're a Wisconsin company, which is always makes you feel good as well, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's a proposal, I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Right.
There's just so many pieces to choose from. You go through these books, you go nuts
Yeah.
looking at what's there. But what Brad mentioned is really the kids want the swings, they want something to crawl onto. So those are the two items that we threw in front of you folks. But if, you know, it's a option, I guess, of being
Right.
looked at.
And what is the time? Are we looking at time, and can we get some other, prices?
Well, this is a government price already bid to the state.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's why I like using them as well, because it's already sent to the state through the source well.
Okay.
But the other piece of the puzzle, if this were to go forward, I know that pricing will change in January. So I'm just trying to snap it up if that's where we want to be. But then the installation would not happen until next summer,
Okay.
because I gotta tear that all apart, so.
Right.
But, so that's, we may purchase the product earlier, so expense to that, we may have a portion paid in this budget, but the other piece will be probably paid in July, the following year's budget.
Okay.
It just depends what's available, to be honest with you, because I'd call them and, even we did the last project, you really have to wait to find out when you can get it.
Okay.
I could say I want it tomorrow, they say it might be 4 months out. I don't know, every
Right.
piece is different, and I gotta leave it like that.
Steve, with the swing set, would there be a possibility of having a handicap swing on one end or something?
They did talk about that, so in the picture it shows, you can kind of see the regular swings, you can take and include that in there, and that's just a replacement of the swing, there's some room for that.
Yeah.
But then
But
if
it-
your kid's in a wheelchair, they can't get through bark to get on
That's
that
the
swing.
other question that comes approachability to it, That's why the elementary school, that project we did, with
Right.
the rubber, you can drive
That's-
right to it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's beautiful, I think it's a great situation. The port in place rubber requires different things, so the base has to
Okay.
be changed to support the rubber that's poured on it. You just
Okay.
can't do what you would do here. There's a lot more prep work.
Oh,
And I know, I'm looking at different things even for elementary school, getting ideas with that to see what that, because we looked at all the project when we did that. And, the rubber is an substantial piece of that product.
Yeah.
And you better make sure you get what you want, because you do not want to excavate that again once it's all poured in place.
Right.
And that's why you would never pour that in place from existing equipment. Because I can tell you, the codes have changed so much. Because all the equipment we have around here, even at the elementary school, that would never pass in today's design, okay?
Okay.
That just would not. The connectors, the size of clamps, all things have changed so much. We're legal to have it, but I could never buy that product like that again, follow me?
Yeah.
It's all changed into different connections, it's all safety, and then one thing that's changed as well, just to be noted, is that there's different rules now, of course, how much space you have to surround the equipment that you choose. So that it looks big because it needs to be by code, it can't have this tight anymore. So everything has to grow to put these things in, that's just the code to do it, so. If you choose a large piece of equipment, you need a lot of space around it.
So there's not an ADA requirement on, because like you said, the chips won't work for wheelchair.
Yeah, you won't roll across that, no. No.
So there's no requirement to make it?
Well, that's a fine line, I'd have to really talk to Jeff about that exactly. We talked about setting up for, I guess I'd say the general student population, but when it comes to special needs, special approaches, that's a different product.
We'd want to make it as accessible as possible for all
Sure.
students to enjoy, for sure, that's a good point.
Did I see Kevin had a?
Yeah.
Okay.
The middle school project came in at $193,000 under budget.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the purchase of the equipment at a cost of no more than $90,000.
I want to second it, but I wanted to ask about the price difference to put the rubber, and I was going to possibly support that. How much more, he mentioned $5,300 for the chips. Any idea how much more it would cost to have like the rubber bottom, crown?
Let me
back,
just
whatever.
put it this way, when I proportionate out what the last piece of the puzzle, when I did that, granted size, right? It came in really, probably a little bit more than a third of the product. So if you look at 88,000, you might be at another 40,000. It's really expensive. Rubber, that whole process is not an easy fix.
I'll second Kevin's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a.
We really gotta think about that.
Yeah.
That's a whole different animal when we start talking about large areas, okay?
well, maybe we have to be creative in having a ramp or something that goes over
Right.
to it or something, maybe be creative in another way.
Sure.
Right, okay, so we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or question?
I
Megan?
guess just
Yes.
to add to that, if we remember, and if my memory serves me right, I do believe that the 2 Gaga pits were paid for by the school through the fund runs, that you and Paul Reinschmidt did that, so we didn't pay for that. And then also, I think the PTO paid a huge portion for the existing, it's purple and yellow, it's out there, and I think it was big, like $30,000 or $40,000, I think, but I mean, back when things were, whatever. So to put into consideration, not only did we come in under, but also we haven't put in, the other things, that the existing structures out there have not come from the board's decision, it's been coming from, other sources.
Okay, thank you. Jess, did you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry if I did not catch this, but did we get solicit bids to other vendors as well, besides just this one?
That was, what Steve was talking was through the state.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
No, this
The
vendor
state-
was unique to
Wisconsin.
bidding this to us.
Yes.
But they're using the Wisconsin Sourcewell contract
That's it,
producing
thank you.
agreement.
Any other questions?
I would say yes, because there's been a state bidding process already for
If
this
not,
equipment.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed?
Okay, gotcha.
Motion
I feel
carries.
comfortable with it personally.
All right, moving on to item 11, discussion and possible decision on the approval of the monthly vouchers list.
Yeah, that was my first question.
So I would seek a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Here we have a motion by Megan, is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Calandra Zebro,
Yes.
Kelly Zebro,
Yes.
Bauman,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes,
Hermaning,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 12, discussion and possible decision on the acceptance of the monthly treasurer's report.
Diane, I just wanted to bring up at committee level, I asked Michelle as I was doing the math, looking at this, November is gonna be really tight. Really tight, so, I'll make a motion to approve this, but we need about 2.6 million a month for, kinda operations, and, with the aid check we just got and what's in, our 2 savings accounts is in that range.
Okay,
Just wanted to
okay,
bring that from committee level.
okay, thank you.
Question. I guess for you, is there a possibility we might have to do some short-term borrowing? Is that potential? I mean, and what is the method that we're gonna go about that?
And she said she would wait off holding some payment of the vouchers if she had to.
Board won't have to meet.
I don't see that. I will tighten it up, and talk with Rob on
Sure.
that.
We don't anticipate
We
short-term
get a
borrowing.
large aid payment at the very beginning of December, around the 5th,
Yeah.
6th of the month. So we'll just have to get, we're almost through October, so we need to get through November. We received a $2,008 aid payment and then 100,000 in grants, and we can speed up our grant claims as well that we've already spent this year to bring in some more, but I will definitely look at that.
Make sure we get our staff paid versus some
Yes.
vendors.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Understood.
All right, so we do have a motion by Peter, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Megan. Any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hermaning,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Calandra Zebro,
Yes.
Kelly Zebro,
Yes.
Bauman,
Yes.
Gorman.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Comment, Diane? I should have brought this up, I'm sorry. I just am not a big fan of having the district delay paying vendors.
Yeah.
Particularly if they are local vendors. I'm not saying that that is what is gonna be required, I hear that. I'm just not a big fan of it, that's all. So, thank you.
No, appreciate it. Item 13, old business. Discussion, ad hoc safety committee report update. Jessica?
Yes, ma'am, so I'll go ahead and give a safety committee report, since I am the current chair. And so we had created the ad hoc safety committee last school year, and that was chaired by Mr. Barnes. And he did a great job bringing, resources and different individuals together to find out what we can do better, to make our schools more secure. That said, we decided this year to take it to the next level and look at things more from the 30,000-foot view, not just through the physical safety aspects, but also through mental health, through fire safety, of course, the police safety as well, but internet safety as well, curriculum safety. What can we do just to be more safe as a district in a 360 perspective? So with all of that said, we started having our meetings and brought individuals together over the summer. Through this, we decided to add not only the police presence and school resource officer to the committee, but we also asked the Mosinee Fire District to be a part of this committee as well. And then we also added a labor's representative as well, so that we could talk about the bus safety, the school parking lot safety, those different aspects as well, and what can we do better. So through all of those meetings that we have had thus far that have been occurring almost monthly, we are currently at the position of, and certainly any of the building administrators can feel free to chime in, but I'm just going to give a brief overview of where we are at today. So the building administrators have all given their overviews of what has been happening from last year through the summer. Some of the new things that are fully implemented this school year are the Raptor system, and that Raptor system is a system that can check against anybody who enters the building. Parents, even school board members, anyone who comes in has to present their Wisconsin driver's license, and then it checks up against the law enforcement system to make sure that these people entering the buildings have the rights and the permission to be able to come into the building. And if they don't, then we can work with a school resource officer as well to try to make sure that we're providing that safe environment. So that Raptor system is fully implemented this school year. Additionally, we have added, of course, as we all know, the fencing to the elementary school as well. The high school, that has a new security entry system. It's a more secure area with security glass. Those types of things that have been done in the vestibule areas as well. Additionally, in terms of the overall building safety, in talking with Chief Grams, we have the one school resource officer, as we all know, Officer Krause, but then we are working to bring the additional 2 on board. So right now, we are currently looking at the timeline of having that second school resource officer in place by the spring of the 2024 school year. So this coming spring, we will have that second SRO in place, and hopefully that third and final one by the fall of 2024. So they have to be fully trained before we can bring them into our schools. So that is the current plan, unless something changes with the police training timeline, but that is where we are currently at, bringing in those 2 additional school resource officers. Some of the additional things that we have talked about as well is with the fire district, having them come in and monitor and assess, if you will, because they're the subject matter experts when we conduct fire drills in our buildings. What can we do better? Looking at different aspects of our buildings to find out what we can do to make things more fire safe. Just being in there on a routine basis, even having them come and conduct walkthroughs so that they are more familiar with the buildings. Additionally, we went and we took the measures of updating and creating not only physical maps, but electronic maps, and dispersing them to the police department and to the fire district to make sure that if there, Lord forbid, ever be some type of a major event, that these individuals have access to the maps and can gain access into the buildings as well very quickly. So those are some of the updates that we have had. Additionally, Officer Krause last month during our last safety meeting had talked about potentially transitioning from the Alice method that we are currently implementing and then transitioning to run, fight, hide instead. So that is something that the safety committee has started to look at. We're gonna have some further discussion, but we will be coming most likely to the school district to ask about making that transition, to make it a little bit easier to understand should there be some catastrophic situation where students and staff are placed into that type of environment. Some of the other things that we have talked about as well is in terms of co-curricular and athletic events. What can we do better and more safe? Mr. Leopold gave a report and had talked about how, being the new set of eyes here, that he was a little taken back by the fact that we don't have some type of gator or a golf cart, if you will, to help haul equipment to and from the buildings, or if a student athlete gets hurt out onto the field, how can we help to transition them off the field if there isn't an ambulance nearby or something like that, just to help get them aid more quickly. So those are some of the discussions that we were talking about. He had currently said he had partnered with a local business and has had a UTV on loan to help with some of those needs that we were talking about as well. This committee has also talked about a possibility of a shared grant writer. So having a initially funded position by the school district, and then this individual will do nothing but seek grants, write grants, and the position would hopefully be funded by the grants as well to help do different things within the district, but not only the district, the community as well, with the fire district, with the police department as well. So those are some other discussions that we are currently having to keep working toward this. Additionally, we started having discussions about the parking lot safety, the bus safety. And with that, we're talking about putting out more routine communications, and as Mr. Way had alluded to earlier, the fact that we are starting to put more communication into the link, talking about these different safety aspects. So sharing with the community just basic reminders of the seasons that we are in and what to look for in terms of safety, and students getting on and off buses, and helping just to be a bit more safe and giving those reminders as well. We're also possibly looking at finding a company to look at how we can better improve our parking lot or school transportation logistics, the street signage, and changing things at certain times with traffic flow. So those are also further discussions that we are having to try to make things better for the students and the staff as well. We'd also gotten a report about the cyber security aspect and trying to ensure that students' PII is more safe and secured as well. And if there would be some type of a hack into the system, that we can try to provide the best possible cybersecurity for our students, families, and staff as well. The one last thing that I will mention is what we've also been talking about as a safety committee is, it was initially thought of to be happening in this spring, but it looks to be either fall or maybe even the next year, but a possible large-scale tabletop exercise, meaning we bring all players together. So if there would, Lord forbid, be some type of a bad catastrophic event, but it could also even be a natural disaster. If a tornado would come ripping through here, what can we do? What do we do? How do we react as a community? So not just as a school, but with our fire, with police, with any EMS resources. How do we execute that? How do we notify students, parents? And could we be a potential resource for shelter with our larger facilities that we have? So those are some of the things that we have been talking about, and also partnering with the city on a lot of these discussions as well. So that is our basic up to speed update on the safety committee, and our next meeting is going to be in the beginning of November, and that is all I have, unless any of the building administrators want to add anything in, pending any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment, lots of great work, as you can hear, from staff, administration, board members, community members, to really ensure that safety is our number one priority here in the district on a lot of fronts, and I'm really proud of our work, breaking down silos, connecting instructional programming with buildings and grounds. And what Ms. Maple was talking about with incident command control, I think having, moving towards tabletop exercises and having a variety of people within our district and outside our district to utilize that to learn from each other, I think is hugely important. So I'm excited about that opportunity to move forward with that work.
Kevin?
I don't really know if there's a Robert's Rules things here on this issue, but typically an ad hoc committee would be a year or shorter. Not saying that we should change it, but I think the board should be thinking about, and maybe at some point, not today, but hearing from the committee as to whether or not they think this is a committee that should be made more permanent, and then it would be another committee of the board that could be more than just board members like the one is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, and certainly it's wide-ranging, we know that, right? It covers so many extra topics, even more than those we originally discussed when this was first set up. I'm just thinking that an ad hoc committee should have a defined, it certainly has a defined scope, this one does, but it's become more than that, which I don't disagree with. We didn't set an end date when we first set this up, but I think the board ought to be thinking about that.
Okay.
And maybe there is no end date, which is why it maybe needs to become permanent.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Jess. All right, moving on to item 14, new business, discussion and possible decision of the approval of the spring 24 Start College Now and early college credit program applications.
Thank you. So as of the beginning of the month, we have 27 students who are taking advantage of our Start College Now early college credit programs and have applied. In your board packet, it talks about how students have to be completing their 10th grade, submitting a letter of request, and then basically the school board needs to approve the students who are participating. So with your report, you can see there's a wide variety of courses that students are taking, truck driving and forensics and getting into criminal justice and just all kinds of unique learning opportunities. So there's dollars associated with this. On the very last page of your report, after you peruse through all the different courses, the cost associated with this is $46,899. So it is the administration's recommendation that we do approve the students who have applied at this time for these programs to have the board in fact approve students attending these programs.
Sure, go ahead, Megan.
Rob, can you explain, I can understand why when you're looking at that whole list, if there's no equivalent coursework offered at our high school, that the admin would recommend approval so that they can take it somewhere else. But for quite a few of them, it said we do have equivalent coursework. So what would be the rationale or the justification for us spending the money to send them to take a class somewhere else if we have the course here?
Sure. So great question. We do have courses that could be equivalent but not the same. But some of the reasons why students have requested to be part of these might be with our CTE program and having more diversity with those. We do anticipate having conversations at the high school level with the pupil service and principals and look at our graduation requirements and to look at what's motivating students to participate in these types of programs. Again, the advantage for our students would be having a college level experience, but it certainly is a great question to have counselors when they talk with students about, hey, they're applying for a CTE class, and talking to them about, well, okay, you have an opening in 6th hour, perhaps that fits in. So one reason might be that it doesn't fit in with the schedule with where kids have. It gives them more opportunities with the timing of the class. But it certainly is a great question that I'll continue to explore. Actually, I think Tom's in the audience. We have a meeting tomorrow on this, or is it the next day? So this is something that administration is taking a look at in terms of the overall course selection and how this fits in with that. So it's a great question.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna tie into Megan's question, but.
I see that there's several denials. Now, was that made by the, what do you call it, the guidance department, or was that made by?
Mr. Halverson does that.
Oh, Mr. Halverson does that? Okay.
Okay. Just like tying into Megan's question, do we look at some of these students' request to see how it's tying into their current classes? So for example, are they taking some of these classes that they never showed interest in, that possibly they should look to take at our school before they apply for some of these?
Sure. So with our academic and career planning ACP program, counselors work very hard to, when students go, and I heard that comment about making sure there's having that 8th, 9th grade orientation, and so I put 2 stars next to that one. But starting when the students, actually starting in middle school, where the school counselors start talking about career clusters that students are interested in. So a goal here in the district is to have students, when they enter the high school, to have 2 career clusters, and they're not locked in, but just to say, hey, what am I interested in? And then the counselors work with the students to make sure that their course selection fits their college or career pathway. So again, they're not locked into a program where they would go directly to a 4-year school. We're working very hard to have not only college fairs, but to have career fairs. And so the high school is in the planning process of having employers come in and talk. So yes, counselors work very hard to identify career clusters that the students are interested in, and then suggest to counsel, if you will, students towards their dream, their plan when they graduate. So I know we have Tom here. Tom, any other comments related to that, or anything else?
No.
Not to put you on the spot, but just anything else at the high school?
I think there's a lot of individual situations that go into some of those equivalency approvals, whether it's schedule, transportation, acceptance into program ahead of time that maybe requires it taken at a certain level.
Right, so there's not like one answer to Megan's question. There's a variety of factors that play into that. But ultimately, the high school principal approves or doesn't approve to get to this level for the board to approve the dollars and cents of this.
And just, and Tom, with this, there are, like Donna said, some denials, and I'm assuming there's good reason for the denials that we pretty much.
Yeah, Mr. Halverson does that. My guess is it's like a direct equivalent that we.
That's what it kind of sounded like.
But I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's how I take it too, so.
All right, so with that, I would seek a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Kelly, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Amy. Any other questions, comments? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Item 14B, discussion and possible decision on the 2024 summer construction budget.
You have that in front of you, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, every year we come with requests and items that we take care of for the district. Some of these items on this list, of course, are reoccurring every year because we have the same work or items of need. I won't go into all of those. I'd like to pull out just a couple of these. Number 5 is an interesting thing. Our Kresge Center restrooms, they're built in 1996. And what we've been doing in the middle school, 1996 restrooms, same product. It was a laminated product and it gets moisture into it and blah, blah, blah. So basically they start getting moldy and have problems. We replaced them all at the middle school with a product working with Mr. Suida. And it's a very good, durable, easy to clean product. And we're very, very happy with it. So I have them come on site, take a look at those restrooms at the Kresge that are very, very highly used. They're showing their age. So I'd like to get those replaced, and it's a non-porous product, easy to clean, and they've been holding up very well. So that's one item, but everybody in the public uses that when they come to the facility there. The other thing I would like to talk to you as well is about, and I brought this up to you a few months back regarding flooring. What I have in front of you is some flooring replacement in the middle school, the 1969 and 1985 section. That's on the second floor. Up in those areas, those are asbestos-laden product, and basically, in our last middle school project we just completed on the first floor, it's a mirrored image of itself upstairs. So we removed all that asbestos and tore all that flooring out with the new product that we did last summer. And I'd like to continue that on the upper level because it's all showing its age as well. And we'd be replacing that product with rubber flooring that we put in the rest of the classrooms, so it would mirror what we did below. But some of those rooms upstairs are the old science rooms, and there is, we can never take away the issue of mercury and drains and things of that nature because of the age that building was used in. So that would all have to be removed. The piping there is actually a glass piping, it's acid-waste piping. That has to be taken out and capped. It's just the vintage of the age that you have. But it's an expensive endeavor. That's why I want to bring it forward to you because we talked about, we have a lot of asbestos left in the buildings and where do we start and stop. But all that stuff is of that age. So, but to replace that flooring, it's about $158 you see there. The asbestos and demolition of those rooms, it's $54,000. It doesn't take long, but it all has to be sealed and taped and go through the process. And then of course the asbestos air testing is a piece of that as well. So that's a big block of it. Whether that moves forward tonight or not is really in your court. But it's a product that you're going to address sooner or later, and the rest of the buildings are going to follow suit because all this stuff is aging out. So that's really the biggest bulk of that product that you have in front of you. Like I said, if you choose not to do it tonight, that's fine. It'll last more years, but we're getting those points of what do we do with these areas, and we already demoed the first floor. Do we want to continue and keep moving forward? And that's what the public sees when they come to the building. So it's a big piece of the puzzle.
How will that interfere with summer school? It's replacing a floor.
Yeah, summer school will not happen in the middle school, especially in this area. So we keep everybody at the high school and elementary because we have to block this all off. This all gets sealed off and no one will get through there. But then what this does do for you though, as well as if we continue with different flooring pieces in the building, I'll be shutting other areas down, which means summer school would be able to take this area first and second floor if you needed to. If you gotta move students around. It's all about shuffling where we want to go and how you want to do it. But it's a continuation of, I think, of all your improvements. So, but like I said, I just want to bring it forward to you because I brought it forward to you a few months back about this, and it's a chunk of it. And we would kind of finish out if we would do that. So, an electrical panel of the last one for the press box that's installed. Vendor's working on that, and that'll be done in probably a couple more weeks. So,
is there any cost savings, Steve, to doing both of the floor replacement? Like, so I see 1969 and 1985 sections.
Yes.
I add it all up to about 215,000 when you talk the 158, 54, the 3,500.
Yeah.
Is there savings in doing both sections at one time, or did you kind of just do it all as like a square foot cost, and that's how you came up with it?
Well, that's an interesting building because when I put that section on, it's a sliver that's married between 96 and 69. And if I'm going to shut that facility down, I can lock all those corridors off, and basically I will have that all stripped down. It'll be ground off, you know, it makes a mess. So I hate to not do the whole section, not that you couldn't.
No, that's.
The other piece of puzzle I would say to you is, and this is why I talked about my vendors, I'm working on another vendor as well. Because the flooring product we chose on the first floor, I want to marry that exactly, because I want to build my attic stock. Because all these panels I'm putting in are replaceable, it's pressure sensitive glue. If someone cuts it or wrecks it, I can actually pull a section of floor, put new one down. And it's all about how much attic stock I have left. Because accidents are going to happen over the life of building, you'll never get away from that. So I'm trying to get the same color lots and all that stuff that would match up to what we did in summer. And then I have a good set of attic stock. That's the goal of it. And that's why I like to secure the price of it too, because that's why I'm bringing it to you this time of year. If we're gonna do that, I would lock it in and get my product set up, so.
Megan?
Food for thought.
What, I can't envision what areas you're talking about in the middle school. Can you specifically name like what?
Sure. So if you were to walk in the main middle school front office,
Yep.
and you walked up that staircase,
Yep.
right? And then you come to another set of stairs, it
Yep.
takes you right up to that second
To the
level,
left,
right?
yep.
So that's the 1969 section.
Okay.
You would take that corridor and it
Mhm.
turns right and goes to the north.
Yep.
You take that all the way down to where the 96 section is, the
Okay.
last, where we had the
Yep.
last block of classrooms.
Mhm.
You can always watch the flooring and the walls, kind of tell you where
Right, so
you're
it's
at.
like that yellowish terrazzo.
Yeah,
type?
that stays, that's beautiful,
Yeah.
right, that floor, you bought that for life, that'll
Yeah.
be there till whatever, it's all the rooms adjacent that tie into that whole corridor.
Okay, so you're talking sixth grade hallway then? Would that be, that would be
Where am I right?
Shoup, Jacobs?
Yes,
that-
yes,
that's
yes,
what you're
yes, that-
talking.
that
Those-
section
You're
going to
talking
the-
about those
The
classrooms?
turn
Yes.
from up the steps by.
Yeah, well, you've got Stacy Jacobs
Martin's
here and you're
room,
going
State and all
down,
the
yeah.
way.
Correct, and
Okay.
they take you to the new terrazzo floor of 96, that's what
Gotcha.
that would take you.
And then the 69 portion, or that's the 69 portion?
69 and 85, 85 is a really small sliver in there.
Okay.
It's, some people don't know it's there, but that's what I
But that's,
call it.
those are the classrooms you're talking about, in those classrooms. You're not talking about when you go up the stairs though, and then go to the right, where we've got the Pride Center.
Library.
You're not
No,
touching.
that floor's all been replaced, that
Yeah.
asbestos I removed before.
Okay,
That floor is done,
okay.
yeah. This is
So
all
I'm
the
just saying,
stuff.
but, so you're talking right in the heart of,
So
yes.
the sixth grade, fifth grade, and fourth grade.
Yeah,
hallways.
where you're going, yeah,
And those are the old science labs,
yes.
you know, and that
Math
means.
is a science.
Sure, and
yeah.
all that cabinetry's gotta get tore out and removed because of asbestos below it, and we're gonna strip it out if we do it, and I wanna put those to bed, that's what we do. So it'd be the same as we'd have, what we did last summer, but those rooms, those two science rooms are very entailed because there's piping, there's gas piping, there's lots of
Yes.
things in there that, till I tear it out, I can't tell you.
Mhm.
So would you do the fifth grade science room too? Would you change that also, or?
No, it'd just be the two in the corner, because
Oh,
those
the
are
two
that
in-
age of
yep,
that.
yeah, okay.
Yes, yeah, that's the grouping.
Ron?
I noticed at the elementary school just recently, just some, maybe some upkeep or some things with like slides and different things. I was told not to slide down the slide, and maybe it was just because, Ron, we don't wanna see that, or maybe there was like an issue with the slide. Do we have any, need, for just earmarking some dollars to update some,
Well, yeah, well, basically, that's another project, you know, and I am working on that as well, trying to look at what pricing looks like to take a look at that whole situation, because of the age of, it's all the same age. So I try to group things in age, because that's what you get into when you do a section, right? Where do you stop, where do you draw your lines? So otherwise confusion happens and you're gonna waste product, because you're gonna tear stuff what you shouldn't have put there, because you didn't know where you put it there, and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, let's just face it, there's needs everywhere. This list could be 10 miles long if you wanted to get to it. I don't think I can overstate that enough, but we gotta work within our budget, so.
right on?
That's why I'm in front of you tonight, and you can tell me what you'd like, and if you wanna hold something, I'm totally fine with it. I just wanna present it.
Kevin?
This summer that just ended, we spent $284,000 on maintenance and improvements as we're part of the budget process that we approved September of last year. I know we had the discussion about this already. There were, before tonight's meeting, for the one you have on the screen right now. And the big item for this summer was the replacement of the high school cafeteria flooring. So that was the big project this year. This next year would be flooring replacement in these other locations that are listed. I'm gonna make a motion, please, to approve the summer construction project budget at a cost of $350,145, not to exceed that much.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion by Kevin, is there a second? And a second by Megan. Further questions, discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Item 14C, discussion and possible decision on the adoption of the record retention schedule.
Sure, so recently, I met with our Neola representative. She's new to the district. My first impression, very knowledgeable, former superintendent, Manawa. Looking forward to continuing to work with her this year. And we anticipate that we'll have Neola updates for the board next month. It ties in with the conversation here because some of those updated policies make reference to records requests. And so it's been a while. I believe 2010 was the last time the state came out with their updated schedule, if you will, or updates with record retention. So it's administration, it's my recommendation that you approve the updated DPI records retention schedule. Some of the differences from the past, there's some requirements with the historical society, separating them out and making sure if we go ahead and have records that we no longer need, we'd have to certify with that agency that we're in fact going to dispose of those records. Through these conversations, I'll be thinking about our records in general. Some districts have one central place for all their records. Some districts have separate places, so know that I am thinking deeply about just our processes that we have in place for handling of records and who sees those records, and educating our employees about the importance of confidentiality. So that's related to this recommendation here as well. Open it up to questions or comments.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so after having worked in the office, I agree. Because the recommendations that we had were very old.
Sure.
That we had in the office. So it was always a guessing game. What do we keep? Where do we put it? And how long do we keep it? Because depending upon who you talk to, somebody said, well, we don't have to do that anymore.
Sure.
But there was never a definite, I mean, you need to keep this for X amount of years because it was so old, the recommendation, the original recommendation for record retention.
Okay.
And so it would be awesome if all the secretaries and would be a part of that, because they're a lot of times the ones, I mean, I had, I think, 4 different categories of records that I was supposed to,
Sure.
you know, put together at the end of the year and then file it away. Well, where do we file it?
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, there's stuff all over.
You'll be a great resource for us to continue thinking that through because you worked in the system so long. So thank you, yes.
Yeah, it's really important because I mean, nobody knows,
Right.
so. And we have so many new office staff right now, so that's another thing that, I mean, it was always a guessing game before, and I'm sure now it's even harder for the new people.
Right, so this is a great first step for the board to make this approval for sure.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, I would seek a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Don and a second by Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Item 15, other reports, WASB.
And that would be me, and I don't know if anybody's interested in going to November 4th to the Green Lake, Saturday. There is a session going on, let Amy know. And then November 1st is when early bird registration is for down in Milwaukee. And that will be, I believe Amy got the dates right, January 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Tuesday through Friday. So Amy will be asking probably next month or soon who wants to go, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Item 50B, CISA.
Okay, we had a CISA report, and so apparently they're doing some job description changes and things like that up at the board, which they will let us know about sooner or later. There's some of the schools received some awards, but they didn't give a list of the schools or anything like that. So I don't know which schools in the CISA consortium got the awards, but they're pace setter awards. And so I'm not sure what that was about, and I didn't have a chance to call her. And then he recognized the CISA board for their hard work and all of that. Seems like Mr. L. Petrie, yeah, can never say his last name right. Seems like they're doing a lot of different updating and updates and job clarifications and things like that. And then Amy Truax gave a report. So last year they started doing in-services with all the districts coming together in the CISA consortium. And so this year they picked out 3 different places, and Northern Pines, Marathon, and Tomahawk are going to be the designated in all school in-service meetings. And it seemed to be received quite well between the school districts. Different ones I've talked to, they liked that. Everyone, getting together, and you had a chance to visit with other people from other school districts in your content area.
Right.
Yeah. And so anyway, and they have a new room that they're in progress of, and it was supposed to be done, but it's still not done, the learning lab up there. So, and that's what I have.
Thanks, Donna. Item 16, future agenda items. Rob, if you're speaking with Neola, can we look at maybe what Kevin had talked about with the ad hoc safety committee?
Yes. Yep.
And compared to our current policy?
Got it.
Anybody else have anything coming for November? Oh, okay. Item 17, adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Kelly, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Calandra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Closed session.
Yes.